That's exploding candy for your enemies. A great idea, isn't it? Little surprises around every corner, but nothing dangerous.
Behind the bright candy, catchy songs, and strange factory doors, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory hides a much darker story than most fans expect. This 1971 classic may look sweet on the surface, but its making was filled with rushed decisions, painful accidents, bitter creative fights, and one shocking problem inside the famous Chocolate River. Some secrets changed how the movie looked. Others nearly changed who played Wonka himself. So before you see the factory as pure magic, these 25 secrets may make you look at it very differently. The Chocolate River was rotten. The Chocolate River looked sweet and magical on screen, but it was awful in real life. It was not made of real chocolate. The crew used a mix of water, cream, and brown coloring to create the look. Under hot studio lights, that mixture quickly began to spoil. Michael Boellner, who played Augustus Gloop, had to get into that river for the big scene. The liquid clung to his skin and his clothes, and honestly, the smell got worse, like it was climbing the longer they filmed. Crew members reportedly made sure they didn't hang around too close because the odor was just so bad. That part of the movie turned out to be one of the most memorable bits, sure, but it paid a pretty nasty price. The set designers seemed to care more about how the river looked on camera than about how it would survive for long shoot days. What looked tasty to viewers was actually sticky, kind of sharp-tasting, and deeply unpleasant for the actors stuck inside it. Keep your eyes open, because the next detail makes the factory feel a lot less innocent. The props actors couldn't eat. Even though the movie was filled with candy, many of the props were not safe to eat. A lot of the sweet-looking items were fake, made only to look good under the camera. Behind the fantasy, the actors had to be careful. One famous example is Wonka's edible teacup. In the scene, Gene Wilder shows up like he's about to eat the cup after having a drink from it. But honestly, the prop wasn't meant for that. It was wax. He had to play the whole moment kind of casually, like it was just nothing, natural enough to fool the camera, yet without actually biting into something risky or unsafe. Other props turned out to be a real mess. With Veruca Salt's egg moment, Julie Dawn Cole got hurt because a sharp metal edge was hiding in the set itself. Her leg was sliced, and, yeah, the injury needed proper care. Some people claim they can spot blood in the final movie, which wouldn't feel too surprising. The Candy Factory seems all soft and playful on screen, but backstage, a few of the things they used were weirdly uncomfortable, even dangerous, in a way most viewers wouldn't notice. Filming without a finished script. Most movies begin with a clear script, but Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory started in a mess. Roald Dahl was hired to turn his own book into a movie, but what he gave the studio was not enough for a full production. His draft had basic scenes, simple lines, and not much structure. Once filming began, the crew quickly saw the problem. The story still needed shape, and actors did not always know what their characters would do next. To fix this, writer David Seltzer was brought in at the last minute. New pages were written while cameras were already rolling. This made the set feel rushed and uncertain. Actors sometimes received their lines on the same day they had to perform them. Still, out of that chaos, the movie slowly found its strange and magical voice. What could have fallen apart became one of the most unforgettable family films ever made. The Candy Bar Movie Deal. The movie was not made only because someone loved the book. Behind the colorful factory and candy-filled world was a business plan. Quaker Oats helped fund the film because the company wanted to sell a new Wonka chocolate bar. The movie was also meant to work like a giant candy advertisement. That plan even kind of shaped the title, you know. Instead of pushing Charlie too hard, the studio leaned toward Willy Wonka, because that name could be a better pitch for the candy brand. The whole goal was almost straightforward: get kids jazzed about the movie, then have them really want to grab the chocolate bar from the stores. But it did not play out the way Quaker Oats may have expected. The chocolate bar ran into problems and basically vanished from shelves soon after. The product failed, but the movie lived on. And in this weird twist, the marketing idea kind of went dim, while the film got way bigger than the candy it was made to sell, or at least to advertise, if you will. The controversial first, Oompa Loompas. The Oompa Loompas did not always look the way fans remember them. In Roald Dahl's original book, they were described in a way that caused serious concern. They were written as African pygmies brought from their homeland to work in Wonka's factory, and many people saw that as offensive and troubling. Because of this, the studio had to make a major change before filming. Civil rights groups criticized the original idea, so the filmmakers moved away from that version completely. Instead of using the book's description, they turned the Oompa Loompas into fantasy workers with orange skin and green hair. That change became one of the film's most famous images. Today, many people instantly connect the orange faces and green hair with the movie. But the look was not just a fun design choice. It came from pressure, criticism, and the need to avoid a much bigger controversy. Roald Dahl's bitter Hollywood fight. Roald Dahl did not walk away happy from the film version of his story. At first, he was brought in to adapt his own book, but the studio later changed much of what he wrote. Another writer was hired, and Dahl felt that his voice had been pushed aside. He also didn't quite like a few of the decisions that ended up becoming kind of famous. Gene Wilder's casting bothered him because he had pictured a far other sort of Wonka. He wasn't pleased with the extra songs either. Most of all, the Candy Man, which he said felt more about promoting music and candy than moving the story forward. His frustration went on well after the movie actually came out. Dahl refused to fully back the film, and for years, he talked about it in a bitter tone, as if it were still fresh. That hurt from the whole production made him more cautious with later versions and new adaptations of his work. For him, Hollywood took his tale and turned it into something else entirely. Why Charlie Lost the Title. The film was based on Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, but that was not the title used on screen. The change to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was not random. Quaker Oats wanted the Wonka name front and center because it matched the candy bar they planned to sell. Still, business was not the only reason. The name Charlie carried certain associations during that time, including wartime slang connected to Vietnam. Studio leaders were careful about anything that might distract audiences or create unwanted reactions. A new title felt safer and more useful. So the final title solved two problems at once. It helped promote the candy brand and avoided possible cultural issues tied to the name Charlie. What sounded like a simple marketing choice was actually shaped by money, politics, and public image. The new title helped Wonka become the face of the entire movie. The Girl Who Started Wonka. The movie may never have happened without a young girl's excitement. Director Mel Stewart's daughter, Madeline, had read Roald Dahl's book and loved it. She kept telling her father that it should become a movie. At first, he did not take the idea seriously, but she would not let it go. Her interest kind of pushed him to finally read the book himself. Once he did, he saw what she had seen too. The story had darkness and wonder, with strange humor about it, and a world that could look amazing on screen if it was handled the right way, somehow. Then Mel Stewart brought the idea forward and connected with producer David L. Wolper. That sort of helped lead to the funding deal with Quaker Oats. What started as a child's wish became the spark for a film that millions would later grow up watching. Madeline's love for the book made it easier to open the factory doors. Wilder was almost rejected. Gene Wilder feels impossible to separate from Willy Wonka now, but he was not the studio's first choice. Other names were considered before him, including Fred Astaire, Spike Milligan, and Joel Grey. Each actor had talent, but the role needed something strange, warm, and slightly dangerous all at once. Wilder understood that Wonka could not be played as only sweet or silly. He saw him as mysterious, playful, and hard to trust. During his audition, he brought that odd mix to life. Director Mel Stewart quickly saw that Wilder had something special. The studio was not fully convinced right away. Some worried his version might scare children, but Stewart believed that fear and wonder had to exist together for the character to work. Wilder won the role because he made Wonka feel magical without making him simple. His performance became the heart of the movie. Charlie walked away from fame. Peter Ostrom was only a child when he was chosen to play Charlie Bucket. Casting teams searched widely before finding him in a children's theater program in Cleveland. He had a natural and gentle quality that made him feel right for the role, and he beat many other young actors, making that movie happen to give him a rare kind of childhood experience. He got to work on these huge sets. He acted right alongside Gene Wilder, and he ended up being the face of a big film. After production wrapped, everyone kind of assumed he would keep acting. There were even more role offers coming in, or at least that's what people said. But then Ostrom, he went another way. Instead of heading off to Hollywood, he went back home, and later he studied veterinary medicine, more or less taking a totally different road. He became a large animal veterinarian, and he left acting behind. Over time, he has looked back on the movie with a soft feeling, but he never really looked desperate to return. Kinda like Charlie leaving the factory. He just let fame fade and picked a calmer future. Wilder's genius first entrance. One of the most famous moments in the movie came from Gene Wilder himself. He did not want Wonka to simply walk out and greet the children. He wanted the audience to question the character from the first second he appeared. Wilder suggested that Wonka should come out with a cane, moving like a week-old man. Then, just when everyone believed he was frail, he would fall forward, roll into a perfect somersault, and pop back up with bright energy. That sudden change told viewers that Wonka could not be easily understood. The idea worked perfectly. In one short entrance, Wilder showed that Wonka was playful, clever, and maybe a little dangerous. He also cared deeply about the costume, including the details of the hat and outfit. His first appearance became iconic because it made one thing clear. With Wonka, no one could trust what they saw. Mike Teavee caused real chaos. Mike Teavee was a loud, wild child in the movie, and the actor playing him had plenty of energy off-camera, too. Paris Themin became known on set for acting mischievously between takes. His behavior sometimes felt very close to the character he was playing. One of the most famous stories kinda involved bees. There was a scene using a prop machine that was connected to fake bees, but real bees were kind of just nearby. Then Themin reportedly triggered it, releasing them, which made the cast and crew panic a bit. Production had to pause, like fully stop, while people tried to dodge stings and keep their hands up. His jokes caused plenty of frustration, but also somehow slid into the film's behind-the-scenes legend. Long shooting days are tiring for children, and Themin brought this jittery, restless brand of chaos to the set. Strangely, it made his acting feel more genuine. Mike Teavee was supposed to be difficult, and Themin didn't have any trouble turning that particular energy into something you can actually believe on screen. If this one felt chaotic, wait until the next detail shifts the mood completely. Wonka's dark horror roots. The movie is remembered as a family classic, but some of its roots were much darker. Early ideas for the film leaned more into fear, danger, and strange fantasy. Instead of being only cheerful, the factory was meant to feel disturbing in places. Some of that darkness stayed in the final movie. The best example is the tunnel boat scene. The flashing images, strange sounds, and Wonka's unsettling words make the moment feel closer to a nightmare than a children's musical. Gene Wilder's serious delivery made it even more frightening. That mix of wonder and fear is one reason the film still stands out. It does not feel safe every minute, and that gives it power. The candy world looks beautiful, but there is always danger hiding nearby. The movie's darker side helped it become more memorable than a simple, sweet adventure. Candyman became a surprise hit. The Candyman began as a cheerful opening song in the movie. It was performed by Aubrey Woods, who played the candy shop owner. At first, it seemed like a light musical number meant to welcome viewers into the story. Then Sammy Davis Jr. recorded his own version, kinda like taking it somewhere else, right? His cover gave the tune a new breath outside the movie. It turned into a major hit too, and it reached #1, which made it one of the biggest wins that still feels tied to the film. A lot of listeners didn't even realize it was from a children's movie. So yeah, the song became more famous than anyone expected, not just a nice extra. It also helped bring people back to the film again, even if the movie itself didn't land as a huge hit right away. The whole thing showed how one small part of a film can grow into a much bigger deal. The Candyman ended up as a classic on its own. The kids' real candy shock. The children's amazement in the candy room was not fully acting. The filmmakers made a smart choice before shooting that scene. They kept the child actors away from the set until the cameras were ready, so their first reactions would be real. When the doors opened, the children saw the candy room for the first time. The chocolate river, candy trees, bright colors, and strange edible world surprised them for real. Their wide eyes and excited faces came from honest wonder, not just performance. That decision gave the scene a special feeling. It is hard to fake true surprise, especially with young actors. By hiding the set, the director captured a moment that felt fresh and alive. Viewers could feel the children discovering the factory at the same time their characters did. That real excitement helped make the candy room one of the most magical scenes in the film. The difficult Oompa Loompa search. Casting the Oompa Loompas was not simple. The production needed a group of little people who could act, move well, and handle musical scenes. The search stretched across Europe because finding enough performers with the right skills and availability was difficult. The actors who got chosen had to work in Germany. The movie was shot there too. They were stuck with long days in heavy outfits and dense makeup. The orange skin and the green hair took hours to get set, and somehow the bright lights made everything more difficult. Their dance scenes also needed precise timing, plus constant teamwork. Little by little, the group started to feel like a real unit. They collaborated, shared the same headaches during filming, and leaned on each other through the whole shoot. That closeness helped the scenes look coordinated on screen instead of kind of random. And the Oompa Loompas ended up being one of the most memorable bits, because the actors put in honest work behind each quick little musical moment. Wilder was gentle off-camera. Gene Wilder's Wonka could seem cold, strange, and even scary at times. But away from the camera, he was known for being gentle with the child actors. He understood that the set could be overwhelming, especially for young performers working long hours. Between takes, Wilder helped keep them calm. He shared stories, treated them kindly, and made sure they knew the harsh moments were only acting. If a scene required him to be stern or intense, he would break character afterward and reassure them. That kindness mattered. The children trusted him, and that trust helped their scenes feel natural. Wilder could play Wonka as unpredictably because the kids knew he was safe in real life. His off-camera warmth balanced the strange energy he brought to the role. It also explains why many cast members remembered him with affection long after filming ended. Behind the mystery of Wonka, was a man who cared about the people around him. The Oompa Loompas' singing struggle. The Oompa Loompa songs looked smooth in the finished movie, but recording them was not easy. Many of the actors did not speak English fluently. They had been hired for their physical performances, not because they could easily sing English lyrics. They tried to get it done by sound, like learned the songs through listening only, not really reading anything much. They memorized the words phonetically, so basically they copied the noises, sure, without always getting what it meant. So rehearsals became slow and kind of exhausting too, because they had to line up the music timing, the mouth movements, and the choreography all at once, no pause. Also, the language barrier made everything feel heavier. Even a simple instruction would take extra minutes to say it back and forth, and then explain it differently. Still, the performers pushed through and somehow made the scenes click. In the end, their numbers were catchy, odd, and you do not forget them easily. The final polished result looks smooth, but it hides how much effort went into every movement and every lyric. Their work basically gave the movie its special pulse and weird charm. The flop that found fame. Today, the movie is seen as a classic, but it did not begin that way. When it first reached theaters, audiences did not rush to see it. The box office results were disappointing, and the film earned only a little more than its budget. Critics were also unsure what to make of it. Some saw it as too strange for a children's movie. Others did not understand its mix of songs, bright colors, dark humor, and scary moments. Theaters soon moved on, and the movie seemed like a failure. Its second life came later. Television reruns and home video helped new viewers discover it. Children who missed it in theaters watched it at home, often again and again. Slowly, the film grew from a forgotten release into a beloved favorite. Its failure did not last because the story found its audience over time. The Factory became famous years after its doors first opened. The Oscars ignored Wonka's magic. The movie did not receive much attention when it first came out. Gene Wilder's performance, now seen as iconic, was not nominated for an Oscar. That seems surprising today because his version of Wonka became one of the most remembered characters in film history. The movie only really got one Oscar nomination, for its music. Everything else got sort of sidelined, like the sets, costumes, makeup, and Wilder's careful mix of charm and menace. Back then, a lot of people acted like it was just a weird children's movie, not serious work or anything. Over the years, though, that opinion shifted pretty much quietly. Fans and critics started to praise it more deeply, especially the bold tone and the unusual vibe. What the award voters missed showed up later, in a way. The film had this look, sound, and feeling that stuck around way longer than other movies that were praised back in their own time. And in the end, its real prize was there with the generations of viewers who never, ever forgot it. Grandpa George could barely see. Ernst Ziegler, who played Grandpa George, worked through a serious challenge during filming. He had lost much of his vision because of injuries from World War I. By the time he appeared in the movie, he was nearly blind. A busy film set can be hard even for someone with perfect sight. For Ziegler, moving around safely required extra care. The crew helped him by placing red lights that he could still partly see. These lights guided him so he knew where to walk and stand during scenes. He did not make a big issue of his condition. Instead, he stayed professional and performed his role with quiet control. Cast and crew members helped him when needed, and he continued working without drawing attention away from the film. His presence showed real discipline. Behind a small supporting role was an actor quietly overcoming a difficult physical limit. Veruca's real egg scene injury. Veruca Salt's bad egg scene may look funny on screen, but behind the camera, it turned painful very quickly. The moment was meant to show Veruca getting punished for being spoiled and demanding. She had to move around the egg sorting set, react to the machines, and perform the scene again and again so the crew could capture it from different angles. But during one take, something kind of went wrong. Julie Dawn Cole, the young actress who played Veruca, cut her leg on a sharp metal edge that was hidden in the set. It was not just a small scratch. The injury was serious enough that filming had to stop, so she could get medical help. What was meant to be a silly, exaggerated factory moment suddenly turned into a real accident. Even more surprisingly, some viewers still think blood can be seen on her leg in the final movie. Whether the editors overlooked it or decided the take was simply too perfect to cut away, the moment stayed in the final cut. So today, the scene feels kinda stranger than you'd expect. Veruca's fall into the garbage chute became one of the film's most remembered bits. But behind that dramatic punishment, there was a young actress forcing herself through real pain. The factory danger wasn't always pretend. Wonka delayed another classic. The production of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory ran longer than expected. Its large factory sets filled space at Bavaria Studios in Munich, and filming did not finish on time. That delay caused trouble for another major movie waiting to use the same studio. That movie was Cabaret. Director Bob Fosse and his team were ready to begin work, but the Wonka sets were still in the way. The delay affected schedules and created problems for stars like Liza Minnelli. One musical's slow production blocked another musical from starting smoothly. In the end, both films became classics, but in very different ways. Cabaret went on to win major awards, while Willy Wonka built its fame slowly through television and home viewing. Their connection is surprising because their tones are so different. Still, they are linked by one strange studio problem. Wonka's candy factory refused to clear out on time. The foam that burned skin. The Wonka wash scene looked funny and harmless, but the foam used on set was not gentle soap. The production used fire extinguisher foam because it looked thick and strong enough for the scene. It gave the right visual effect, but it caused problems for the actors. The foam was not meant to touch skin for long periods. Some cast members had rashes, irritation, and pain after they were exposed to it, and it really felt like it stuck around. The hot lights made everything worse, leaving the chemical mixture kind of active against their bodies during filming, even when it probably shouldn't have been. Now, stuff like that would most likely crash into much stricter safety rules. Back then, though, film sets often nudged performers into uncomfortable or sketchy conditions just to get the shot, and somehow it was treated as normal. The scene still looks playful to viewers, but behind it, there was a painful reminder that movie magic can come with real harm, and not just metaphorically. The factory was not always as sweet as it seemed, not even a little. That scene already showed the factory's harsh side, but the next one uncovers a missing piece most fans never knew existed. The missing golden ticket child. The story almost had one more golden ticket winner. Her name was Miranda Piker, and she appeared in early versions of the story. She was written as another difficult child, much like the other spoiled and careless winners who entered Wonka's factory. Her planned fate was darker than most. She was supposed to ignore warnings and end up being ground up by a machine. That kind of scene may have been a bit too harsh, even for a movie already packed with weird punishments and spooky moments. On top of that, budget and timeline problems made it easier to take her out. Miranda Piker was removed before filming, but small traces of her stayed. Some early footage and merch items still hinted there were 6 children instead of 5. So it caused fans to ask for years if there were missing scenes just sitting somewhere. Removing her helped keep the final group a little cleaner, but it also left behind one of the movie's most strange lost bits. The magic of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory was never as simple as it looked. Behind the songs, sweets, and colorful rooms were strange choices, real accidents, and secrets that changed the movie forever. That is what makes this 1971 classic so unforgettable. If you enjoyed these 25 secrets, make sure to like this video, comment on which one surprised you the most, and subscribe for more behind-the-scenes stories. And before you go, watch the next video shown on the screen for another classic movie with secrets you probably never knew.